I just saved my client north of $200,000 over the course of their retirement by showing them how to minimize their IRMAA surcharges. No, I'm not talking about Hurricane Irma. This is completely different, but some would argue even a little bit more scary. Now, I'm going to discuss how you are probably going to pay more in Medicare premiums, which is a fancy way of saying IRMAA, than you need to, but I'm going to give you the strategies so that you do not run into this issue. I'm going to show you there's a few things that most people overlook when it comes to IRMAA surcharges, minimizing Medicare costs as a whole, and a few other tax strategies. So let's hop in. If you don't already know, my name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner, host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the vice president here at Root Financial Partners. I'm going to go through a lot today, but it's all coming and stemming from this flowchart on my screen right now. So take a look at this. If you want access to this, will I avoid IRMAA surcharges on Medicare Part B and D? What about my income? What threshold should I be at? How do I think through everything on this screen? This is what I'm going to be going through in detail for you today. But if you want access to this, as well as the same tools that I'm going to show you, to save north of $200,000 over the course of your retirement in Medicare premiums, you can check that out inside of the Early Retirement Academy right now. Check it out in the description. So some of you are like, what is this guy even talking about? Medicare premiums? I thought it was going to be awesome. I thought eventually, I'm going to be 65, then I'm going to have Medicare, and it's like, I'm not going to have to worry about COBRA or the marketplace or anything like that. No, now we've got to make sure our heads are turned on the right way because we need to put our thinking caps on or you're going to be paying way more than you need to in taxes and Medicare premiums over your lifetime. Let me show you. So for 2024, if your modified adjusted gross income exceeded $103,000 if you're single or $206,000, well, now you're going to be paying more. If your income is less than this, which it might be today, but maybe not in the future, your Part B premium is going to stay at $174 a month. Now, if your income has exceeded that, okay, so your income has exceeded $206,000, married, filing jointly, or $103,000 if you're single, you're going to have to pay based off of the income bracket you're in. So if you make over $103,000 and you're single, between $103 and $130, there's an extra $70 every month on Part B and $13 on Part D. This continues to increase where if your income is significant, let's just assume you're in the range of $160,000 to $200,000 a year, which by the way, many of you will be in, maybe not today, but when there's Social Security and there's a pension and there's rental income and there's dividends and interest and required distributions, you're probably going to be in this range. Well, now you're spending, both you and your partner or spouse, $300 or so every month in Part B, $280 with $53 in Part D. Let me give you a better example. So this couple comes to me and they're retired and this is their income, $224,000. I said, guys, how much do you want to spend? They said, well, we'd love to spend $10,000 a month. I said, that's great, but you have $224,000 coming in. So you only need $120, but $220 is coming in. They're like, oh yeah, that's a problem. I said, not just a problem for tax purposes, but for Medicare. And they're like, what? And I said, yep, there's something called a Medicare premium tax bracket system. So just like I showed you before, but just in a cleaner format, when your income, if you're married, filing jointly, is below $206,000, don't worry about it. You don't have to pay anymore. But my dopey joke here is this is pretty cool. When your income is between $206 and $258, you pay more every month and you get more, but you just don't get more. You only pay more. So it's a bad joke. But my point here is I don't need you unnecessarily as your income rises. You'll probably, once you have required distributions and Social Security, you might be over $206,000. And this is an avoidable cost. This is $1,000 every year for you and your spouse that you don't get anything for it. You're just paying $1,000 each, so $2,000 a year unnecessarily. And you can do that for 30 years. So I don't need you to spend an unnecessary $60,000 plus dollars. Now, that's where it starts, but as it grows, I have clients that are like, look, I don't have $220,000 now, but in the future, once I have required distributions and Social Security and a pension and inheritance, my income might be in this range. And that's legitimately, you can see $450 north of $450 every single month that both you and your spouse would be paying. And so it's like, look, I do not need you spending about $10,000 a year on something that is completely avoidable if we're strategic in the earlier years of a retirement. So for the client that I did this with, you can see they're 60 years old today. They're not worried about this now, but in the future, you see these little different levels here. And once again, what I'm showing you on my screen is inside of the Early Retirement Academy. So if you want to be able to do this with your specific plan, you can do this. This person, this couple, we plugged in all of their numbers, so it's all in here. You can see these are the different little brackets here. So this little blue line I'm hovering over, that's the $83 a month extra amount. The little green bracket here, $208, then $300, then $400, then $500. So you can see for their plan, look at their blue, look at when they're 77 for me. So when they're, I know it's moving all over the screen. Give me a second. Okay. So here they are. I'm going to zoom out for a second. At 78, you can see their income is going to be north of $360,000. So you see how the dark blue is now filling up. The dark blue is, you see this little blue line here? I'm going across the blue line and then boom, it's in the dark blue. That's because their income has risen to that point. So you can see in their 70s and 80s, they're getting filled up by this dark blue here. I know the colors aren't perfect, but the dark blue, all of this ocean, this is their income, okay? Now, these lines are when the dark ocean goes above this line, that means you're above that bracket, meaning your Medicare premiums increase. So they're over this for the majority of their retirement. You can see here, they're good until 70, maybe they're spending a little bit less, now they're okay, but then it shoots up again. And if they're strategic about these IRMAA surcharges and keeping it lower than necessary, you can see we can look at anything. We can look at ordinary income or conversions or capital gains. But if we're just looking at Medicare premiums, $240,000, that's their proposed tax savings if they're being strategic and implementing Roth conversions along the way. So when you're thinking about tax planning and Roth conversions and income, all these things connect to one another. If you want to optimize your financial strategy, check out. That's why we built this Early Retirement Academy. You can get access to everything I'm discussing and more inside of that. So hopefully this was helpful. If you want the checklist, the strategy, the tactics, that is why I do this. I want to make sure that you guys are not paying $200,000 over the course of your lifetime if it's completely avoidable. So hopefully this was helpful. If so, please like this video, share it with someone you want to retire early with, and lastly, subscribe if you're looking for more information just like this.